I say again, good morning. Good morning. Greetings. My name is Eben A. Allen. I am the ANC Commissioner for Single Member District 7003. Welcome to the Bennett Park Center, which is eventually will be renamed the Woody Ward Rec Center, thanks to Councilmember Vincent C. Gray. I would like to welcome you to the kickoff for the Summer Crime Prevention Initiative. I would also like to welcome Mayor Bowser's Cabinet, the Metropolitan Police Department, the One's Office, my fellow ANC 70 commissioners, and all the other DC agencies that are in attendance. The Bennett Park community, along with ANC 7003, is honored to partner with the Metropolitan Police Department to kick off the Summer Crime Prevention Initiative. Let's give a round of applause for that. I can recall just last year that I partnered with the MPD to host a National Gun Violence Awareness Day right here at the Bennett Park Rec Center. We discussed how families in D.C. are traumatized by gun violence. We also discussed ways to address crime across our nation's capital and to create better communication between law enforcement and the citizens of Washington, D.C. Just about 3 weeks ago, I also partnered with the 6D Metropolitan Police Department to speak to about 40 young 7th and 8th grade boys from ANC 7E. Let's give Metropolitan Police Department a round of applause. We must provide a safer community for our families, children, and loved ones. Many of my constituents feel hopeless, and we must provide hope back into our communities. I believe the Summer Crime Prevention Initiative will create a way of hope, providing safer communities this summer. Please make your voices be heard throughout the summer of 2019. In the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. We must share love across our nation's capital. Now, I will introduce to you the queen that is moving our entire city forward. I now introduce you to Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Let's give our commissioner a big round of applause. And good morning, everybody, and welcome to Bennett Park. As you can see, I am joined by many members of DC government who wake up each and every day to make our city safer and stronger, but also to make our city proud. So let's hear for DC government. Our Deputy Mayor for Public Safety and Justice, Kevin Donahue, the Chief of Police, MPD command staff, and MPD officers are with us today to talk about our Safer and Stronger Summer Plan and specifically our Summer Crime Initiative. Over the last week, I have worked with the chief and our public safety team to talk about how we're getting ready for the summer, but also to do something that I haven't done in the past. And that is to go down to MPD and review with them every single homicide that has happened in our city this year. Sadly, one homicide is too many homicides. And we want everyone in our community to know that every life matters and that justice matters, community safety matters, resolving trauma matters. And we are looking at each in every case. Our detectives are working very hard to make sure that those responsible for wreaking havoc and violence and taking a life in our community, we are looking for you too. And it is very important that the community and the police work together to close these homicides and bring justice and closure to DC families. And with the Summer Crime Prevention Initiative, we are laser focused on violent crime before it happens. And while no one, not residents, not MPD, is satisfied with where we are, we do know that targeting the hardest hit by crime and violence with this initiative, we will make a significant difference. Last year, for example, Compared to the previous summer, our target area saw a 25% decrease in assaults with deadly weapons, a 34% decrease in burglaries, and a 15% overall increase in violent crime. Part of the initiative will involve sending more officers into neighborhoods that are experiencing higher volumes of violent crime. And MPD is also focused on how we are working with communities, residents who are most at risk for becoming victims of crime, and bringing our other agencies out into communities, including our Department of Behavioral Health. And let me welcome Barbara Bezron back to district government as the director of our Department of Behavioral Health. It includes DCPS and DC Public Charter Schools, DPR, and all of our agencies that are focused on building healthier relationships and stronger neighborhoods. And my charge to all of our agencies is to work together to create environments across the city, and especially in these targeted areas where children and families feel comfortable playing outside, walking through their communities without fear of violence. Part of the way that we will achieve our public safety goals is through the Summer Crime Initiative, but it's also in realizing some very critical investments that I have proposed in my 2020 budget that is before the council right now. $1.6 million, for example, to create centers where families and residents can access the care and support they need to heal from traumatic incidences. We hear time and time again that DC residents don't know about some very valuable programs that we're already offering, or some benefit that they qualify for but that they aren't getting, or that they need services but they won't come to a regular government building. So we are going to bring these services to communities and work with community leaders who can deliver these services to residents. We include $1.6 million to establish schools that will serve as neighborhood hubs that connect students. Frequently, you hear us talk about community schools, another way to address families at school with the services of our government. $4.7 million to establish family success centers where we will work with trusted community partners to empower families with the services that they need. The chief, in just a moment, is going to share with you the details of the 6 areas that we're focused on this summer. He will talk to you about the captains, the police leaders who will be responsible for driving down crime in these areas and working with residents. But before we do that, I have a challenge for residents across the District of Columbia and in these special areas. I hope that you have heard about our private security camera program. I launched the private security camera program in my first year as mayor, and so far we have delivered 14,000 cameras across the District of Columbia. Right in this community, Commissioner, in your area, we have deployed 236 cameras. And what we want to do is see that number of cameras go up, and we want to see our special crime areas saturated with private security cameras. So why do I talk about that? I talk about that because in my deep dive review with the detectives and the chiefs and the commanders, what was very clear is how important video is to solving crime. From violent crimes to property crimes. When we have clear video, it helps the police and detectives in making sure that we can drive those crimes out of our neighborhoods. So please, with the private security program, we will give you a rebate. So basically, you can get a very good quality camera at no cost to yourself. So with that, I want to turn to the Chief of Police to talk in some more detail about the 6 areas.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here for MPD's 11th Summer Crime Prevention Initiative kickoff. Our number one goal of the Summer Crime Initiative is to reduce violent crime in areas of our city that have most been hit the hardest with violent crime. Over the years, we've seen crimes decrease with each of the targeted areas, and I know that will continue this summer. It's because of the coordinated efforts we have with our local, federal, and community partners, combined with strategic prevention and focused enforcement, that we're able to build upon relationships and succeed in keeping our communities safe. As you are aware, in the past 10 summers, MPD's Summer Crime Initiative has identified 5 to 6 focused areas that have experienced a high density of violent crime. What we do at MPD is we assign a captain to each of these areas after they have been identified, and that captain will have 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week responsibility for coordinating resources to that area. Throughout the summer months, we focus resources and utilize the latest technology to combat crime while partnering with our other agencies, local and federal, so we can coordinate our efforts. This year in particular, there are 6 specific areas that we have identified, which include in the 5th District, the Langston, Carver, Trinidad Kingman area. That will be led by Captain Ashley Rosenthal, and she's here. Thank you. In the 6th District, where we will have 2 areas, the Fort DuPont Benning Greenway area, and that will be led by Captain Danny Godin. Also in 6D, the Benning Ridge Marshall Heights area, which we are in right now, and that will be commanded by Captain John Knudsen. In the 7th District, we will have 3 areas: Historic Anacostia, led by Captain Carlos Harad; Congress Heights, that will be led by Captain Jerome Merrill; and last but not least, Washington Highlands, which will be led by Captain Jimmy Boatler. Every day we strive to reduce crime, and this summer will be no different. Here at MPD, we will continue to remove illegal guns from our streets and hold repeat violent offenders accountable through intelligence, tactical operations, gun recovery technology, and patrol enforcement. And we will continue to use other available resources and policing strategies to capture violent offenders that want to deter us from our goal. The mayor already mentioned some highlights from last year. In 2018, in the targeted areas, we reduced robberies by 17%, burglaries by 34%, and overall violent crime by 15%. Overall crime in these areas was reduced by 13%. Other summer programs that we will have during the summer months will include district outreach efforts such as our National Night Out, our community bike rides and walks, and our ice cream socials, summer camps to include our STARS Teen Camp, youth programs like our Youth Creating Change program, the Junior Police Academy, and we will also have our Beat the Street events across all of the districts in the city. The engagement and outreach efforts by our dedicated civilian and sworn members on a daily basis is exactly what we're trying to do to build trust and legitimacy in the communities that we serve. I know that MPD is expanding these relationships. On a last note, I will reemphasize what the mayor has already spoke about. The cameras that are available to our community through the camera rebate program, in my estimation, are the number one thing that has helped the Metropolitan Police Department apprehend violent offenders in our community. I talked to chiefs of police from all over the country. They do not have the luxury that we have here in Washington, D.C., thanks to our mayor. If you have not taken advantage of this program, please do. And the last thing I will say is I look forward to a very safer and stronger summer here in the District of Columbia.
Thank you, Chief.
Yep.
Okay, so we are available to take some press questions, and then if there are community questions, we'll take those. Press. Sam?
One thing I'm curious about, perhaps from the chief, have you identified the person who was killed at the Potomac Avenue Metro Station yet? How is that case going?
So we have actually, and we're going to release some images later today, we have 2 arrest warrants in that case. We have an arrest warrant for an 18-year-old Jada Smith, and an 18-year-old Xavier Culbreth. Jada Smith will be charged with robbery, and Xavier Culbreth will be charged with murder.
Who was the victim?
I don't have the victim's name in front of me. We'll make sure you get it.
It is public at this point, because
It has been released, yes.
Follow up on that. You haven't made those arrests yet.
We have not, so we will be asking for the community's assistance in locating those two folks. We do have arrest warrants. We will be providing pictures. I didn't expect that question. We were working on it. We haven't gotten to that point, but in the very near future, we'll have those photos available.
How is this different from other summer initiatives? I mean, you said this is the 11th. Is there something particularly different about this one?
I don't know how much different, how many tweaks that you make to a program that has been as successful as this has been. We were just in a meeting prior to this where the captains were introducing their areas to the mayor. And in that meeting, we reflected back on the success that we've had in our summer crime initiative areas. There's a two-pronged approach to this. There's a traditional law enforcement approach where we target illegal weapons, illegal firearms, and we target repeat violent offenders in this area. And the second piece of that is bringing district resources and federal resources into these areas to prevent people from being involved in crime in the first place.
Did you select this area because of the increase? I noticed that the homicides are twice what they were last year in this area. Is this the reason, I guess, the worst in the city?
There's a number of factors that go into the areas that we select, and one of them is violent crime. So if we did have an area like this that was particularly plagued with homicides, it would be one of the criteria we would use, for sure.
Can you update us on the Chain Bridge investigation? Have you identified that victim yet?
We have not. Sadly, we have not been able to identify the victim in that case. It appears to be a male in his late teens or early 20s. He's of Hispanic origin, and that's all we know at this time. I believe he was about 5'6", and we don't really have a lot because of the condition of the body to give with regards to identifying him.
What can you tell us about the role of MS-13, either in that case and the latest evidence that you've found down there, as well as just MS-13 in the district? What is the status of MS-13 inside of Washington, D.C.?
You know, one of the things that we are reluctant to do at the Metropolitan Police Department is to speak about any particular gang. We are very fortunate in the District of Columbia. We do have some gang activity here in our city. We have an intelligence unit that follows those gangs very, very closely. We do not have the extent of gang violence that we see in our neighboring jurisdictions, like in Montgomery County or in Northern Virginia. With regards to this particular case, we do not know if this was gang related. That's one of the things we will look to see if that was a motive in this case.
Is the FBI helping you in this case?
We will always reach out to our federal partners whenever we want to get information on a homicide case.
Mayor, obviously you've been focused on, I guess, what you might call non-police methods for working on crime, and I understand some of the people behind you are going. Could you talk about that a bit?
Absolutely. So I talked a little bit already, Sam, about some of the new investments that we're making around reducing trauma in communities, having community schools where we're bringing more resources to communities. We haven't talked as much about our violence interruption programs that come out of the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, and they're very focused on people who we know are most likely to be victims or perpetrators of crime and getting them intensive resources. And so that's a lot of what we talked about today. As the captains briefed out on their particular areas of concern, in two of our 6 areas, the captains were concerned about intimate partner violence, driving a lot of assault with deadly weapons in our communities. And we don't frequently actually talk about that in an arena like this. But we're also going to call on all of our human services agencies so that we're reaching out to families to know how they can get resources as well. Employment is also very big, and that is why we continue to do more with young people ages 22 to 24 and our summer youth employment program so that they're engaged. Additionally, we added last summer, I think, 1,000 additional camp opportunities that we have been able to maintain in Ward 8 alone. So we will continue to watch our registrations in summer camp to make sure that young people and families have summer opportunities.
I have a question that's not about crime. Can I ask it now?
Sure.
Okay. So we were looking at the lights at Florida and New York Avenue, and they are like going from 98 to 97, and they'll jump down to 7. I mean, it's kind of a bizarre thing. I guess scares people that are trying to cross at crosswalks. Can you talk about that? What's wrong with
that? Sounds like a counter that's not working. Do we have some? Oh, DDOT director is here.
A number of those, we saw them at least 3 locations yesterday.
All right, please share those locations with us.
17th and M, 15th and I forget what, but those are northwest, and then New York and Florida in northeast.
Yes, thank you for that question, Sam. We have notified our vendor who maintains street lights and crosswalk signals. They are investigating the issue to understand what the malfunction is and how to remedy it. It's my understanding that they've been to all 3 locations and should be making those fixes in the very near future.
I noticed yesterday they just sort of turned off the walk signs. They didn't turn off the countdown for the don't walk signs. Is that what, to make people feel better about it, or what?
No, they're looking into to better understand what the actual malfunction is, and once we know what that is, they'll be able to make that fix. We have, as you know, the sheer volume of signals. The vendor is out servicing signals every single day, so once they're able to determine the necessary remedy, they will apply it.
Yes.
Or Mayor, can you summarize briefly the policy regarding handcuffing juveniles?
Okay, we don't have a policy that exactly talks about juvenile offenders. Our policy on handcuffing is we do it for the safety of the person that's being stopped and then for the safety of the officers.
Can you talk a little bit more about this deep dive that you've taken with the detectives? It seems, I don't recall a mayor actually ever sitting down with homicide detectives to go case by case. You know, why did you choose to do that, and what did you learn from your conversations with them?
Well, let me just be clear. I meet with the chief every week, and every week I'm getting briefed out on violent crime and all crimes in the District of Columbia. From time to time, I will go to the crime briefing that the chief hosts with command officials down at MPD headquarters. And this year, quite frankly, as we are going into the summer, we're looking at the budget resources that are going to be available to us and making some policy decisions. And also, I want to be able to go into every community and let them know that I'm concerned about the violence that's happening in the community. Let families know that we are concerned for their loved ones and what happened to their loved ones, why the violence happened, and how we're going to bring people to justice. It's also very important for me to understand that the police resources that we have available. So if I need to provide the chief with more resources, then I have a direct understanding of what we need and how it's going to be deployed. All right. Thank you, everybody. What's next? Where are we going? Oh, any other questions?
I have a community question.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Kia Daniels. I just wanted to know the correct avenue to take if you see something that's dangerous but not be related to a homicide or anything like that. For example, a burnt-out car that's been left in the circle for a little bit of time. What's the correct steps to take, and what should be the allotted time for us to see the removal of such car, so we're not continuing to call or make reports?
I think a few things. First of all, if you think it's dangerous for whatever reason, and a burnt out car could be dangerous, you call 911. and then our operators will figure out where it goes. If it goes to 311, if it goes to the agency, they'll figure that out, and they will also create a report in our system. You can also, if you don't see any action, let your MOCR, who is my representative in each ward. I have 2 MOCRs per ward, and they can track down the responsible agency and get it moving. I won't know the response time necessarily. Sometimes as if it's on public property, if it's on private property, there are a lot of different things that we have to do to give the owner a chance to get it removed, but it should be quick. Yes.
Hi, I'm LaShawn, and I wanted to know the realistic update on Bennett Park and some of the activities that we need to have back instilled into the community for the summer. So,
you're talking about the rec center. Yeah. And I don't have the capital update right in front of me, though the commissioner just gave, you have a budgeted improvement, and I think that we're starting later in the year. Is DPR here? Can you talk to me about this rec center?
Absolutely. Thank you for your question. We are working closely with the commissioner, and I believe that we have a meeting set up in the very near future to discuss our capital improvements. We understand it's a little bit behind schedule, but we want to move this up. And so I'm happy to meet with you afterwards as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for coming to see about Ward 7.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm challenged because from my observation, Ward 7, I'll never see any police actually out walking in the community. They're normally sitting in their cars. And I'm also challenged with the generation. Every generation matters. That's what's important. And the generation here now are afraid of the police, and the police are afraid, I think, of the generation. So how are we going to resolve our children? When you see a child on national TV that's being handcuffed at 9 years old and 11 years old, and that little 9-year-old boy, he was so traumatized, he had an accident. And how many viewers have seen that? The other families that have been traumatized, other children that have been murdered in the streets. And the communities, you said you need support from the communities, but they're afraid. So they won't come out and have a voice. I walk these streets and ask, come and see the mayor, come and voice what your concerns are, come and see what your challenges are. People in Ward 7 are such in disparity until they don't think, they're hopeless. They don't think that nothing's going to happen, even with their voice, even with letters or anything.
Well, this is one thing that I know. When I walk door to door in Ward 7 and around the city, and I know what you're saying is true. It was true. If it's true today, it was true 5 years ago. Let me answer you.
Can I say this because it's important to me, please? I'm sorry. My parents bought this home where we live when I was 5 years old. Today, I am 65. And it has been a drastic, everything has just gone crazy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you. I'm sorry you
I'm so sorry.
I lost your question and my train of thought. The bottom line is, this is what I was going to say. That I recognized 5 years ago when I went in every neighborhood in Ward 7 that people didn't believe that the government would do what it said it would do. And the only way to change it, I can stand on every street corner and talk about it. The only way to change it is to do something about it. And so that is why we have been very focused in an all 8-ward strategy, investing in every neighborhood, showing up and doing what we said that we were going to do. Now, the truth is we certainly need community trust of the police. We don't want the police to be afraid of community members, nor community members to be afraid of police. And unfortunately, we can have officials make mistakes. Right, we can. But that doesn't define the relationship between MPD and the community. because they have hundreds and thousands of interactions with citizens every single day. So all we can do now is move on and make sure that all of the things that we are doing promote our officers having positive, constitutional interactions with police, but also being out in communities, meeting with people, being on foot, but also stopping crime. Okay, so they have a lot to do, and we expect them to do it well. Yes.
Because you're so gracious, and you mentioned that you go into homes. How many homes have you been into where people have these kind of challenges? Where people have been. Did you say something about you want to go into homes, talk to people?
Yeah. I'm not sure I understand your question.
Have you been into any of those homes?
Like which homes?
You know, like people that have murders, homicides, or some kind of traumatic incident that has happened?
Sadly, yes. Many more than you can imagine. Many more than you can imagine. Yes. You bet. Thank you, everybody.